Jungle.
I was playing ball. I was probably 17 years old, and playing ball with my Ray team, softball team.
I was kind of keeping an eye out on that shortstop that was playing ball. And cute as a button, I thought, and this nice little round butt, and oh God, it looked really beautiful. And dark hair. I always liked girls with dark hair.
He spotted me, and then he's, as far as I know, and then he asked if I could go out, and I said, well, yeah, I didn't know I had another boyfriend at the time, you know, so.
I think her mother had something to do with letting her come out with me, is that she didn't like the boyfriend that she was going out with. She thought he was a little bit kind of orangutan, but I don't think she knew what was coming up. So
anyway, she thought that I should try to go out with him, so we went to a movie that night.
And I might have got a little kiss on the cheek, but that's about all. In those days, there was no hanky-panky stuff, I'll tell you. So well, that was our first date, yes. In those days, A&W was a hot place, you know. So milkshakes, yeah, many nights we'd go for a milkshake, sometimes 2 straws, sometimes each one, you know, depending, watching the calories. So.
Drive-in movies, #1, dancing, Friday or Saturday nights at all the local community halls. That was the thing for all young people to do. So whether it be Alcomdale, River Kabar, St. Albert or Morinville, always came home to our parents, both of us, on weekends.
Mother made sure that we were far apart because she slept downstairs in the spare room and I had to go upstairs. Then in the fall, we went out shopping for a ring, you know, and we decided to go to her mom and dad's place.
He tried to do the formal thing, Rene tried to do the formal thing, and asked, my dad was sitting in the living room, and
so I got down on my knee and I asked Mr. Ouimet for his daughter's hand in marriage.
And my dad, what, you know, didn't know what he was doing and what he was up to, you know, so.
He had a hard time to hear. He was getting elder. So anyway, the thing is that I think I asked him another 2 times on my knees. So the thing is, at that point, finally, he still couldn't understand what I said, but I was probably excited a little bit, you know.
Finally, Rene just sat down and said, I want to marry your daughter or so, and it was kind of cute.
Oh, yes, he said.
Yeah, he just picked up my mom by the waist and gave her a hug and lifted her off her feet, but, you know, he was strong, and my mom was older, so. About
a week, 10 days later, she comes to me and she says, you know, she says, I can't bend down and make the bed anymore. So what do you mean? Well, she says, when you picked me up around the waist and lifted me off the floor, she says, you broke 2 of my ribs, she said. It was a cool day. There was a little bit of snow on the north side of the building that hadn't all melted at that time.
In those days, it was huge weddings, so Rene broke all tradition and had a Saturday wedding versus a Monday or a Tuesday wedding. Mondays and Tuesdays you got married because Friday was a day of abstinence for the Catholic Church. You couldn't eat meat on Friday. Saturday you couldn't stay up late because you had to go to church on Sunday. But Rene had started working in the oil field and jobs, and he said everybody's off work on Saturday, so he was the very first one in Legal and Villeneuve area to have a Saturday wedding.
Oh, looked like a princess. I got pictures of her. I says, you want to know why I picked her? I said, just look at the picture. We had the wedding in the Villeneuve church, and then we went to the Club Macombo for lunch with family and close friends. So
then we went to Galway Photography in the city, Jasper at 112th Street, Jasper Avenue, to get our photos taken, formal photography. Then we went back to the Sahara restaurant by Westmount. There was a beautiful restaurant at that time for just a wedding party and parents.
And then we had a beer reception before the dance in Legal, where at that time it was a custom that people attended the wedding dance that weren't invited. The guests were in the hall in the basement. We had a beer drink, and what you did is that open door. So anybody of age, if they paid $2 or brought a present, they could come for the beer drink and the wedding dance. I think there's one place that's written 600 people were around the place, or up down to 400. So there was a real good crowd. The hall was more than full. So, and then remember, in those days, after the beer drink was closed, it was upstairs and we danced till 2 in the morning, you know.
So at 11 o'clock, you changed into your going away suit. I had a nice teal blue suit. We stayed there, had formal lunch again at midnight, and then left at 2 a.m. and went to the city. The next morning back to church, because Sunday, you know, so back at St. Joseph's Cathedral in Edmonton, and then my mom and dad and my brother came and saw us off on the plane, and we went, with the $400 we received as cash at the wedding dance, we went to Vancouver and Victoria and Seattle for a 1-week honeymoon. I was busy working. He was working or going to school at that time, and he was laid off most of the time, so he was doing farm work and carpenter work, whatever he could lay his hands on, and I even found him ironing one day, only time. Every weekend we came back to our parents, always, for the weekend.
And the thing that we did a lot is we used to dance. We went to the Red Barn, oh God, maybe not quite every weekend, but just about, and dance. I really love to dance, and that's one thing that Anita and I done. We got married in '58, and Vivian was born in '60. She took care of the kids and done well to try to help them out and teach. And no, I think she was a real fine mother, yeah.
He's always been a good dad. Vivian in the city, we had her babysat while I worked. So he'd pick her up or I would pick her up, and we'd let her stay up till 10 o'clock so we could enjoy her, and then I just carried her over in a blanket in the morning to the neighbor lady. And baby number 2 came along. I quit work finally for good, and that was 1963, so I must have just stayed home. And Rene went to work at Swift Canadian, kept going there, and then we finally bought the farm here in Legal here in 1966. So then our 3rd daughter was born here at the farm, and in 1968, and again, had hired men in that old house and workers of all sorts, trailers in the yard with people, and Rene was always very energetic to renovate and repair and fix. And
oh, you know, times were a little tough in those days, and we managed to go to Banff and Radium and a few places like that, but yeah, we weren't going out too much. The first 20 years of buying the farm and all that, it made it a little bit hard, yes. Because in Edmonton, I had been involved in the community leagues, and I became an area director for Area 5, which is about a quarter of the city at that time. And then when I moved here, I got involved in the arena and all that other kind of stuff. So yeah, we were very busy with community organization.
I think our biggest thing was that I really liked the 4-H program. And so for 10 years I was a leader. Then I became regional leader for 2. Took in exchange programs with all our children and members of the 4-H program.
I was working in Fort McMurray, and we were finally getting ahead a bit. We booked a trip to Hawaii. That was our first trip. So it was a big trip to Hawaii for 2 weeks. And when I looked out of our room in Hawaii that morning, I thought I was in heaven. Flowers in front and everything else, planters, it was just, the Princess Hotel was just beautiful.
And then from then on, we pretty near took a trip yearly, every January, because that was our slow time of year for our the work that we did.
We've traveled quite a bit. Yeah, we've done Canada from coast to coast to coast, you know, and then we've done, I would say we got 13 states left that we haven't been in. We drove all the way down to Mazatlan and Puerto Vallarta in Mexico. And we go away every winter for 4 to 5 months. And I built the yard to be able to have the kids come over. We got a sunroom in the back. And, you know, it's make it so that they come. And some of the grandchildren come for a week, and then it's quite nice, you know.
We took all the rocks from the road from here 2 miles north, and we picked them up in half tons and then tractors and hauled them here. He had a few big rocks that he picked up in different locations, brought them here, but everything was hauled in. And so him and I built a waterfall. He's a renovator. He used the bottom of a shed for the waterfall ripples. Well, first of all, he's very honest. He's very honest, and he's just. I think he's very just and honest. He's faithful. He plays hard, and always trying to get ahead financially, I suppose. And then he always did like innovation and making things work better. So he got into the water and sewer business, and I think that was right up his alley. And he's still today, he's still always thinking of how to improve something.
I don't think I'd ever find another lady that would work as hard as she does. She likes to come outside and work with you, it don't matter. We always work side by side and both work to try and make an income. For her to get ready to leave on time, I mean, that's the biggest thing for her is to, you know, time doesn't seem to matter. When I'm ready, I'll go.
He's got no patience.
Well, yeah, if I'm in a ladder and I'm holding an eave trough and I say, I need a hand here. Yeah, okay. And I'm waiting.
Or even when we're driving, get in the lane, put your signal light on like he's fast.
When I drive, I like to drive, I watch the road. My wife sometimes has a scenic problem. I look to the side, you know.
He can't see. If he's looking for something, it's right there, but he can't see it, right? Is that a man thing? Yes.
I think you probably noticed that she likes to talk a bit too, you know. And if she has something to say and I'm watching a TV program, she'll move in between like this, you and the TV, and for sure she gets your attention, you know. So I guess I have to overlook those things, you know, because I don't want to cook dinner. It's like they say, the woman is always right, you know. The guy can be standing out in the field and she's still right even if she's not there. So remember that if you're going to get married, don't be running around. I mean, you know, stay faithful.
You know, we've learned to share and accept and go our own ways and yet always have a common goal, though. I think the idea is to have a common goal. Well, I think it's very rewarding, really. The children have all married well. They've done well financially. They're not all wealthy, but they're doing very well. They're enjoying life. They themselves all have children of their own. Well, I think we have to thank God that we're so healthy. We're still going pretty strong, and hopefully we can ken for a few more years yet.
I thought I had found the right one. Must have been, because 60 years later we're still celebrating together.